Bill Simmons and his little list, and Ryan Russillo, who tries to be a tough guy. Two guys who never played, never coached, really don't know squat about basketball other than what they read, are trying to come at OutKick about NBA ratings. So, you know what? Here we just call it out. And we call it out because it's obvious once the NBA went woke, it went in the tank. Because the NBA has mostly black players, you're not allowed to criticize it or else you're racist. Bill Simmons and his little lisp, and Ryan Russillo, who tries to be a tough guy. I remember being on a set. I like Ryan. I do. I called him after he had a problem. Anyway, they're coming at OutKick, and it's just beautiful. It is just absolutely beautiful. Two guys who never played, never coached, really don't know squat about basketball other than what they read, are trying to come at OutKick about NBA ratings. When I ever look at the NBA ratings, it's mostly through Clay or Bobby, the two guys that those two clowns came at. Well, I only see facts. I see facts. I mean, I just see it's like, here, they're down, they're way down, they're almost crushed. I guarantee you the NBA ratings are up for whatever the reason, and they should be up. But they should be up a ton. There's nothing else going on. Like, we got the Derby coming up on Saturday, but people don't really follow that until the actual Derby. We've got the 500 coming up end of May, but people really don't follow that until when? The end of May. So the NBA should have massive ratings as college football and college basketball, and, of course, the NFL are all monsterly, and the WNBA have great ratings. So, you know what? Here we just call it out. And we call it out because it's obvious once the NBA went woke, it went in the tank. People stopped watching, but the playoffs have been good. I'll get into the playoffs in a minute. But Simmons, I love the way Bill Simmons talks. He's supposed to be from Boston. Where's that Boston accent? And Russillo, I was on a set with Russillo, Joe Dumars. I was hosting Mike and Mike. And Russillo was trying to show Joe Dumars and all of us how smart he was with the NBA. Ever since then, I just kind of laugh like, really? Okay. All right. But he was one of the cool kids with Scott Van Pelt, so you had to kind of like him at ESPN. And I did like him, but this is so stupid. Here we go. Here's two morons trying to talk basketball.
Like, this is one of the best 24-hour stretches the league's had in a while.
Yeah, Clay Travis. How about tweeting about the ratings?
Get Bobby Burack on that one.
Look, I realize group economics wasn't a great Jersey idea either.
Yeah, it's not much there. Actually, I kind of like the fact that they pay attention to everything that we say. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other, but let's just be honest. Whenever Bobby or whenever Clay tweets about the ratings, they're all just factual. I mean, that's it. So I guess these two guys, these two never played, never coached, never did anything in the game except maybe hand water to somebody or go in the locker room to ask a question, take a little peek, or get a picture. I mean, these two guys are the great defenders of the NBA. Yeah, we got Russillo on our side. We got Simmons on our side. Yay, rah, the NBA is back because the two white guys that never played a thing, couldn't play with anything other than themselves, are defending the NBA. Yay. Oh, here's Clay Travis's. This is pretty good. Now, people always come at OutKick. Baseball is back. OutKick is run by a bunch of racists. Really? So no surprise that they would hate on the NBA where most of the players are black. We're totally out of control with this race thing. Look, what do we want here? Do we want everybody treated equally? So when you slide in a draft, it's equal, white quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, black quarterback. I mean, what do we want here? Like, do we want everybody to say, wait a second, we want equality, but we want special? Now, because the NBA has mostly black players, you're not allowed to criticize it or else you're racist. Is that what baseball is back wants? It is. It's what most of you want. Like, criticize Shedeur Sanders about not being like great quarterbacks, meaning Brady, meaning Manning, and you get, well, you're racist because he doesn't act like the white guy. No. I'm not racist. You want to be a damn quarterback in the NFL, act like the great damn quarterbacks in the NFL. I've said that about every sport. Do you want equal or do you want equal but special? Equal treatment, equal coverage. But wait a second. It must be special. You must cater. Is that what we're supposed to do? That's not what I've ever done. And that ain't what I'm ever going to do. Ever. Clay had a great line. Everyone I don't like is racist. An argument by morons for morons. No, that's right. What are you? Wait, you're racist. You're sexist. Hey, the NBA ratings are what they are. I love basketball. Basketball is in my soul, but I can't stand the regular season. I've said before, and I'll say again, go to an NBA game. It's a great experience. At least it is here in Indy. Go to an NFL game, it sucks. In person. Watch it on TV, NBA game sucks, except the playoffs. Go to an NFL game, watch an NFL game on TV, freaking great. Playoffs are different. Hey, I'd go every day to the NBA playoffs. Playoffs are awesome. I set my day, 6 o'clock, and then I realized, wait a second, hold the phone. We can't get a damn game on our TV, so you got to go to a bar, restaurant, to watch the Pacers last night. Thank God it started at 6. Holy cow, Bobby Barack, he responded, and it's kind of good. I don't even know if you really need to respond to those two. I mean, the great defenders of the NBA, yeah. Has any media company been more accurate in covering the state of the NBA than OutKick? No. We were the only outlet on the internet warning that fans would eventually turn on the NBA if star players continue to sit out games for rest, a.k.a. load management, embrace the liberal politics, and treat regular season games like a burden. He's absolutely right. Overall, NBA viewership is down 48% since 2012, 75% since the Jordan era. Moreover, 5 of the lowest rated NBA finals in the last 30 years have occurred, finals games have occurred in the last 4 years. The NBA still trails WWE most weeks in viewership. And about 10 shows on Fox News, live cut-ins of Trump signing more executive order, random college football games featuring obscure schools in the Midwest, and ice road truckers. Well, Bill Simmons and what's his name? Ryan Russillo, you got your answer. Will Bobby Barack tweet about that? You got your answer. He just did. And he did it very adroitly. He did it very successfully. He did it very smartly, which is what we do here. We take your shots. We take your accusations. You back road or whatever you call it, baseball is back. And we stand up for ourselves. We fight. We're Donald Trump-like after he gets shot. Yeah. So there you go. Will Bobby Barack tweet? Yeah. We don't fear anybody. We tell you the truth. Look, it's biblical. When the truth is on your side, Bobby and Clay, we don't make stuff up. I mean, if I tell you the Cubs did not strike out in a game for the first time since 2013, and it happened last night, it's going to be fact. Now, we throw a lot of opinion in, but when we're going to give you ratings or we're going to give you nuggets, as they call them in the industry, you can bank on it. That's a fact, Jack. Keep coming at us, and we'll keep fighting you. We'll keep fighting back, and we'll remain and continue to be the number one growing media entity on the internet, OutKick.com. All right. GOP lawmakers from across the country are blasting woke Nike over their alleged transgender athlete study. Man, they're trying to, if you don't know the story, they are funding a study to see what hormone blockers, testosterone, whatever the hell it is, blockers, what level do you have to be to make a boy on the same level as a girl? And as Jennifer Say said on the show, what they're trying to do is they're saying that girls are basically damaged boys. And that's bullshit. I mean, what are you doing? Democrats, unsurprisingly, have stayed silent on this massive controversy involving Nike. I don't get it. I'll never get it, and I don't care who votes for what, really. It just is, well, Mengelalian. Remember Mengele doing experiments on the brain, the head, back in the day? Well, Nike is funding a study where they are doing experiments on young boys with puberty blockers and other stuff. It's evil. Completely, totally evil. And if you don't understand that, why? That would be my question. Why? Why wouldn't you understand that taking young kids, little kids, and doing experiments on them, Nike then funding the research on it, tell me how that's not evil? Of course it's evil. It's the very definition of evil. Once you involve humans in your experimentation, that is evil. Nike appears to have at some point helped fund a study on the effects of gender-affirming care among young male athletes to see if it's possible to impair them enough so they can fairly and safely compete in girls and women's sports. As Jennifer Say said, they're trying to damage boys to make them like girls, and girls are not impaired boys. They're just not. Honest to God. Well, the company has since told Nike that the study was never initialized and is not moving forward. It's unclear whose decision that may have been. The company has refused to provide additional content despite the study's head researcher, Dr. Catherine Ackerman, and a secondary researcher, Joanna Harper, a male who identifies as a woman, both publicly stating that Nike was funding the study. This is amazing. This is sad as hell. Why are we preying on our children? I don't understand it. Whether it's strip shows, drag shows, experiment, why don't we just let kids be kids? Can somebody please explain the other side? I'm willing to listen. Not allowing kids to be kids is evil, period. Whether you're a parent allowing your child in that study, you are evil. What are you doing? Children are our most vulnerable. Children should be the most protected. And yet, we're exposing them to studies, cutting off penises and breasts, and what are you doing, people? Under no circumstance should any company or organization subsidize a study that greenlights experimenting on children and giving them life-altering medications, hormones, and surgeries. Nike needs to immediately come clean about whether it's doing the radical left's bidding by funding this unconscionable study and putting kids in harm's way. That's Senator Marsha Blackburn, a Republican out of Tennessee. Didn't Nike get the memo? 77 million Americans sent a simple message on November 5th. Boys are boys, girls are girls. Americans are sick and tired of Democrats' attempt to erase women and to deny truths that have been universally acknowledged for thousands of years. Liberal companies like Nike would be well served to realize that the woke mind virus does nothing but alienate half of your customers. That's our friend Senator Tommy Tuberville. Any Democrats in here? Any reasonable people? Where's Bernie Sanders and AOC on this? It's amazing to me. I don't know that there is an issue that is more out of the mainstream and yet more required by elected Democrats in demanding that men compete against and in women's sports and boys compete in girls' sports. What is amazing is, even though the left is so far out of step, Nike's continuing to double down and fund this extreme research. That's friend of the show, Ted Cruz. AOC was asked. Unfortunately, none of the Democrats that OutKick asked for comments responded. AOC, nothing. Jasmine Crockett, nothing. Gavin Newsom, nothing. Seth Moulton, nothing. Nothing. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Unbelievable. This is sick. This is sadistic. This is why they're calling and they are projecting the whole Nazi thing, because this is Mengele. What are you doing to kids? You won't hear anybody like Awful Announcing and even Barrett's. They watch this show every day and look for something, right? They always look for something. Am I effing something up? Can they come at me? Whatever. You won't hear anybody, any of those woke-ass, not Barrett's. Barrett's is good. You won't see that woke-ass Awful Announcing or any of these woke-ass media outlets showing our OutKick's reaction to the horrors of this. You won't see them talking about it because they're all in cahoots. The liberal media, they protect the liberal media. Speaking of liberal media, no, they put on this, Dan, will this be the first time you ever agree with Bomani Jones? No. I really liked Bomani Jones. I did. I thought he was great. We go back and forth sometimes, but I think he's reasonable most times. And he probably would say the same about me if he's even paying attention. I don't know. I really don't pay attention to him anymore. I did when he and I were both at ESPN because you want to be up on all the stuff. But Jones addressed a comparison between Sanders and Colin Kaepernick on his podcast, telling the left-wing mob they are embarrassing themselves. Here's what he had to say. You are embarrassing yourselves. You are playing yourself. And even if part of why he fell is that people didn't like him, he was going for a job where being liked is part of the deal. Thank you. They did it wrong. That's all it comes down to. They did it wrong. There are criticisms to be made of Colin Kaepernick, but he literally gave it all up in the name of a cause that was bigger than him. I've said that. I've said I respect Kaepernick going to the lengths he did, and he did get punished, if that's what you want to call it, get ousted by the league. Now, people are going to say he wasn't that good. Oh, bullshit. He would have played in that league. Of course he would have. I mean, damn, we've seen Drew Lock. We've seen, I don't know, some guy that barely played in college. I mean, Tommy DeVito. What are you, crazy? Sam Ehlinger has been on a roster for the last 4 years. Stop. The only cause Shedeur Sanders has is himself. Don't you MFing dare act like those two are the same. That is exactly right. That is exactly right. I've said for years that Kaepernick actually sacrificed. He was the face of that, and he suffered the consequences of being the face of the kneel-down movement. He suffered the consequences. When you saw Frank Reich in Indy kneel, all right, or these coaches kneel, you know what they didn't do? They didn't sign Kaepernick. They yelled, they screamed, they knelt, they talked, they pandered, but they didn't sign him. This isn't the same. This isn't nearly the same. The whole world is on fire, and you think this is the thing to get mad about? You think that this is the thing to go march on and talk about? Because the NFL told an apparently obnoxious young man that he wasn't good enough to be a starter? So, to those of you who don't know what you're talking about, would you please shut the F up? He's right. Absolutely 1,000% right. I mean, there are things to get angry about. And this is what I have said. What a great country we live in. People think that, well, this isn't something to go and fight about, and as the world is on fire. No. The country isn't on fire. I want you to think about something. Country's in great shape because this is what we have to worry about. This has everybody all in a tizzy. Our country's in such great shape that this gets that much attention, or the next story I'm about to talk about, that a football player went to the White House and a football player didn't go to the White House. That's what we've got. That's how great our country is, that the only things we have to bitch about is some obnoxious kid not being drafted in the first round, or a football player going to the White House, hanging with the president, and another one not. And that's got us all fired up. What a great country. You think they're worried about that shit in the Middle East? You think? You think they're worried about that in Africa or South America or wherever the hell? Hell no. But we have such a great life here in our nation that this is the shit that we get bent out of shape about. Think about that for a second. What a great country. Jemele Hill is the latest to throw her 2 cents into the whole Philadelphia Eagle White House visit, saying there's a double standard. There's always a double standard between Barkley's response and Jalen Hurts' absence. If Saquon Barkley is able to voice he's visiting the president because he represents the office, then Jalen Hurts should be able to say they don't want to go because they object to the president. Yeah, no one's saying you should. If it's a scheduling conflict, totally fine. If it's not, they should be afforded the same right of disagreement or based on their own morality. Absolutely. Nobody really gives a shit whether Jalen Hurts goes, and nobody really gives a shit whether or not Saquon Barkley goes. Really, each side, nobody really cares. I mean, look, we got our own stuff. Bunch of millionaires want to go to the White House. Yay, Rock, go fight, win. Bunch of millionaires don't want to go to the White House. Yay, Rock, go fight, win. Who cares? Don't care, really. Given the way this presidential administration has been very specific about their attacks on black people, then if players take issue, it shouldn't be a problem. Is that a democracy? What exactly? I hope we put this part of our show out at some point. I would like to know what exactly has this president attacked black people on. I'm going to put that out on Twitter, and it's going to be fascinating to me to get the responses because I try to pay attention. Now, I'm not black, so I don't know. Let's go that route, okay? What exactly has this presidential administration been very specific about their attacks on black people? Is that just words? Is that just inflammatory? Is that just Jemele Hill saying stuff? Or have there been actual, quote, attacks on black people? I don't know. I honestly don't. And I'd be curious to see what they are. I mean, I know what's going to happen. Well, you're a racist, Doc. No. No. I'm legitimately asking a question. Like, what are they? Well, if you don't know, I can't help. No, I don't know. I legitimately don't know. The worst commissioner in the history of professional sports is Adam Silver. The odd man who fell in love with and went to bed with the entire woke culture, who refuses to take issue with his league's relationship with China. Well, he wants more positivity in the dialogue when discussing his league. Here's Adam Silver.
Is there anything about how the NBA is covered that you would change?
You know, it's interesting. Your companies enjoy basketball. And, I mean, I respect the job the media does. And it's not a suggestion that people shouldn't ask tough questions or be critical or talk about things they don't like about the game. But I would say, and it goes exactly to your production company, Enjoy Basketball, that sometimes I think they don't spend enough time talking about why people love this game. And, you know, recently I was at a meeting with Mike Krzyzewski, former coach at Duke, and he condensed it with this headline. He said we should educate people about the game and celebrate the game. Educate and celebrate. And I feel, I wish there was more of that.
That's fair. No, that's fair. Look, if you're the commissioner, that's what you're supposed to say. Seriously, that's exactly what you're supposed to say. Now, if you're a broadcaster and you're not tied into the league, that's not exactly your mentality, particularly as a former player. As a former player or a former coach, I think you're supposed to educate. I think you're supposed to tell what is happening. And if you are a game analyst, you're supposed to forecast what is happening. Forecasting, entertaining, and teaching was what I tried to do. That's what I was, it's like you're talking to your team. You have to have a certain gravitas to keep a team paying attention. You have to educate, and you have to try to tell players what is going to happen if you do this, or what is going to happen if you don't do this. So the commissioner's not wrong. That is what he thinks the league should be about in terms of its partners, and he's right. But when you're an analyst or you're somebody that's on TV, particularly former players, particularly egomaniacs like Shaq, who, by the way, was really stupid yesterday, just really stupid. Anyway, that's it. That's what you're supposed to do. Is this a fair point? Kyle Brant, NFL Network, blasted the lack of media coverage from draft weekend with regards to the number one pick in the draft, Cam Ward. A lot of people are saying this. I've seen less focus. I've seen less buzz, less anything on the number one overall pick in the draft. Now, I think, and I'll let Brant's words speak for themselves, but I think he is 1,000% right here. Let's hear from Kyle Brant.
So, Mr. Irrelevant in this draft is cornerback Kobe Minor from the University of Memphis. Kobe Minor. I think Kobe Minor, the last person taken in the draft, got more attention and hype than Cam Ward, the first person taken in the draft. I want to talk about Mr. Relevant, which was the number one overall pick. Guys, this is history. I've never, ever seen less focus, less buzz, less anything on the number one overall pick in the draft. I remember when the number one overall pick was an offensive lineman from Central Michigan named Eric Fisher. And he might as well have been Peyton Manning compared to Cam Ward. Cam Ward is sitting there, number one, and it's like he has a two-syllable name, and we're halfway through the first syllable, and it's already like, well, let's talk Shedeur. Shedeur was very interesting and very compelling. Let's just take one hot second to be like, Cam Ward, incredible journey, 0-star recruit, 3 different colleges. You're the best player at the draft, looking down on all these Ohio State guys and Georgia guys, and you went to Incarnate Word. Cam Ward's coolest thing is that there is nothing to talk about because he doesn't give anything to talk about because he is that solid as a person, that solid as a player. I'm not familiar with who Cam Ward's father is. I don't know much about him. I don't know anything about what he does on social media. I know he's a hell of a football player and deserves credit for that. And you know what? Tennessee Titans fans, if you want a little bit of sizzle and you want some conversation, you damn well deserve.
If you want a little bit of sizzle and you want that, you got it. Will Levis, Titans fans. Will Levis. Simple. Very, very simple. If you want sizzle and you want conversation and you want all this, here you go. There it is. You got him. You got him right there. Will Levis. If you want a solid player, Cam Ward. Let's examine this for a second, because Kyle Brant alluded to it. Kyle Brant said what a great story, and it is a 0-star recruit. 0. Goes to Incarnate Word, which is a nice school in San Antonio. I've been there. Incarnate Word plays good, really good, gets noticed by Washington State, goes and plays in the Pac-12, then the Pac-12. Good, really good. Gets noticed and makes a ton of money going to Miami. Good enough to be the first player picked. Let's go backwards. 0-star recruit in an era where all these guys, you've seen it with Shedeur Sanders, got daddies and coaches and commercials and blah, 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 blah. Where even the quarterback at Cathedral High School or Zionsville or Fishers or Hamilton Southeastern thinks they're going pro after their freshman year. They got quarterback coaches. They got mental coaches. They got their own trainer. They got all this stuff, but here's Cam Ward, the anti that. Now, Maybe he had a trainer. Maybe he had a quarterback coach. Well, they didn't do a very good job with him in high school, if in fact he did. It's the best story in the draft. We're not talking about the number 5,000 pick. We're not talking about the story behind the player. There's some unbelievable stories behind these players, what they've overcome, their parents' sacrifices. No, I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about the player and his journey. Entitled kid goes to Jackson State to play with his dad. It's a good story. It's a really good story because I'm guessing Shedeur Sanders could have been recruited. Certainly Travis Hunter could have been. It's a really good story. Goes to Colorado, lights it up in a league that is eons ahead of Jackson State in terms of money, resources, players, 5-star recruits, all that stuff. Now, Jackson State, wait a second, don't besmirch. That's where Walter Payton came out of, my all-time favorite player, best football player I've ever seen. So I want to hear it, that Jackson State's no good. It's good. It just doesn't have the resources, not even close to what the Colorados or the Big 12 and those guys have. That's a great story. Travis Hunter, the number one recruit in the country, going there is a great story. This is what I wished we had focused on, not we, had been the focus of the draft. Travis Hunter and Cam Ward, different ways, different directions coming out of high school. Totally different. Not even close. One a 20-star recruit, the other a 0. One that went to a small school, worked his way up to a big school. The other that started at a small school, not out of necessity, but by choice, to be with his father figure and his best friend. And it works out great for both. It's a great story. Both of them are. But then it gets screwed up with all the outside noise. The dad, Dion, educating us, the religious, all the crap, all the stupidity. Yeah. Cam Ward, and you saw it in that video that's widely circulated, serious football guy, while Shedeur Sanders looks like an insecure little kid.